2020. Are you ready?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round number 4 of the Rich Energy British Mini Bikes. We are here in Lancashire, just on the outskirts of Wigan at Three Sisters. This is a very popular track with the mini bike crowd. Back here once again on this brutally fast circuit, and we are looking towards a good afternoon's racing. My name is Chris Sora, delighted. So as we cut back to Three Sisters in this lovely autumnal sunshine, we move on from youth to experience, and it's the SYMoto veterans. The riders are in the waiting zone. They'll be out on track in just a few moments, and we'll look at how they line up. It was James Mostica who took the pole position this morning, just over 1 minute lap time. Matthew Davis in second, Julian Gromit third. Unidentified rider in fourth, we'll pick that rider up a bit later on. Simon Gates in fifth, Alan Brooks rounding out the top six. Seventh position was Steve Allen from Gav Tapperton, Ian Walker and Steve Booth rounding out the top 10 from Chris Meller and Dervin Elaine in 12th. 13th, Robin Kyle from Ian Wareham, Ben Douglas, Michael Neelands in 16th position, Tony Reveley and Stu Bateson in 18th place. 19th for Mark Jarrett, Mick Price in 20th, William Horner and Matthew Corbett 21st and 22nd. Meredith Owen in 23rd from Paul Bingley. 25th for John Pearson, Stan Gill, and riders not setting a time in qualifying who will line up at the back being Martin Cockayne, Chris Blofield, Michael Wood, Dion Collins in 30th place, and Simon Woodward rounding out the field. So pit bike vets, a lot of good riders out there, plenty of good names in with a shout here as well. And this class has always been very competitive, Jake. A lot of experienced riders from the world of pit bike racing and from road racing taking part in this one. Experienced circuit riders out there, and plenty of good riders in with a shout of victory.
It's worth noting that the championship leader here in your SYMoto Veterans has not had a single win this season. That is Julian Gromit, who has had a number of second place and third place finishes over the course of the first 6 rounds, where it has been James Mostica who has been the main attributor to victories in this championship, has had the last 4 over the course of things so far, and could very easily look to try and make that 5 and 6, but has to learn from mistakes from earlier on in terms of the racing, because there is that mentality that comes in. Once the track bites against you, how does a rider respond?
Yeah, that's it, of course. It's all about confidence and making sure that, of course, we saw Mostica on the Lunar Bend, just to the very left of this fabulous drone shot. Just to shout it incidentally to Jamie Fell, loving the drone shots. I'm sure that our drone operators will enjoy that feedback. It's certainly some great footage here of Three Sisters. Just to the top left of your screen, you'll see that Lunar Bend where James Mostica lost the front end, and yeah, just got to learn from your mistakes really, and it might have just been pushing too hard maybe. Certainly the riders are well experienced. They won't have any sort of, I wouldn't have thought they'd have any sort of fear or trepidation about that, but certainly looking to learn from the mistake and certainly not to do it again, because it's a very fast circuit here. There haven't been that many back markers. Most riders maintaining a good pace out here. What that does mean, of course, for the leaders, if they make a mistake, they're going to drop all the way down the field, because a lot of riders in the majority of these races have been finishing on the lead lap.
And of course, mistakes really do get punished in the SYMoto Veterans. They've got to be really, really alert to the way that they are going to be running. They'll be just in the next couple of moments getting the signal from the steward there at the front, getting ready for action. We're just going to wait for that call as those riders get ready. Everybody all looking to be situated up quite nicely at this stage, and the front of the field is going to be very, very hotly contested. Don't count out Gav Tappenden either here in the middle, and I think one rider here has just pulled over to the side with a little bit of a bike issue.
Yeah, some issue at the start there. Rider just looking to get that machine started, and I think has pulled to the side as the flag drops, so the race safe to continue. Here they come charging into the first corner. Looks like a good start, I believe, from Mostica. Trouble in the midfield. Rider going off and landing in a heap. Getting back to his feet. We'll try and pick that number, 37, possibly 31. We'll try and pick that rider up. The rider is okay, though, just taking a bit of a tumble. Everyone else has got away cleanly. Good start, and Mostica leads. Looks like Matthew Davis in second now. This is the part of the track where Mostica lost it earlier on today, but it will get through safely and onto Conrod Straight for the first time, but certainly very close to 51 in third. Matthew Davis in second.
It's so easy to make mistakes here at Three Sisters. It's all about running to the limits, and sometimes 101% is not the place you want to be as they climb up the rise and over Coward Summit here for the opening lap of this one, and then back on down the hill again. 5th and 6th looking close right now. That looked like it was going to be Simon Gates who was in a little bit of a scrap, but down the hill they go. Oh, wiggle, 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 and that's straight on, and in the grass. Is they able to save it? Oh, let's take a little trip down pit lane. That was very, very well saved.
Yeah, very good there from a 205, and of course, when you go onto the grass there, of course, these riders running on slick tyres, they're not like motocross where they got the grip, of course, on when they go onto the grass, they're very hard to control, these bikes. So we'll try and pick that rider up, doing very well there just to use the pits as an escape road. We'll lose a lot of time, but can stay in the race and stay on two wheels. None of this, of course, will bother the leaders, though. We're looking at Matthew Davis in second place as James Mostica looks to pull away. He had trouble earlier on that corner, but a fresh race and a fresh start. Mostica pulling away a bit as Davis just ducking a little bit on the straight there, just looking to try and break the toe for the riders behind as Julian Gromit now on the 75 starts to get involved. So there we see there, Jake, a little bit of moving about just to try and break the slipstream, I should say, for the riders behind.
Exactly. Just look at the overalls there. It seems like number 3 could be Mr. Dickens. Not too sure about that one, but as we funnel on through, there you can see how everyone is trying to make these runs, and there is that scrap just a little bit further back. The 110 goes
nasty.
down.
He'll seem to lose the back end almost. So we'll have a look at that in a few moments. That was the 110 of Matthew Davis going down, and let's have a look. Here he comes into the corner. Let's have a look at the back end. Oh yeah, the back end just stepped out at him almost without warning. So relatively slow speed tumble from there. I think he's okay, and we'll get back into the race, albeit quite a way down. Good news, of course, for the 75 of Gromit, who's back and chasing the leaders.
Well, that is a really, really key battle, and there is Julian Gromit, who has not picked up a win, is going to just ease away through on the inside and back up into second position now, has only Mostica to chase, and crucially, this is damage limitation when we talk about championships right now. Being in second, it's 60 points for a win and 50 points for second place. Second place here means it's a 10-point gap, brings the gap down to 40 overall in the championship, and that's the key. Just make sure it's a gap of 10 each time. He only needs to pick up 2 wins this season, so make sure that it's seconds all the way to the end to make it happen.
Yes, indeed, and that's all about consistency. It's not always the winningest rider who will win the championship. If you drop a few points in a bad race, it can be a difference between first and second. There is Dickens actually in third place on the 51. Starting to put a bit of pressure now on the second place, 75 Julian Gromit, as they make their way onto Conrod Straight. And there we see Gromit keeping it nice and neat on the inside. Dickens on the outside there, trying to get the drive on that outside line down the straight, but it's not going to work as Gromit gets a good line and pulls away actually in second place. 3.2 seconds the gap though as James Mostica, fastest lap of the race with a 1 minute .619. He's going down the finish line straight now. There's Gromit in second. And at the moment, Mostica is looking clean at the front.
He's looking very, very clean, and all he's got to do is play the consistency card. Just run the bike maybe at 98, 97%. Don't push the level too much. You've got a gap to play with right now. And it's also the same, you could say, for second and third position right now. They've got 7 seconds going on back. It looks like the 110's back going again. That's Davies, and Davies is in 9th place at the moment, so it seems like everybody is trying to find a little bit of something, and it seems like Davies has found the back of a very, very big train.
Yes, the 110 of Matthew Davis recovering well from that spill earlier on, and on the edge of the top 10 there, it's getting very tight actually. They're making their way down into Luna Corner as the second and third place battle makes their way down the straight. Once again, we look at the 75 of Julian Gromit, 3.2 seconds adrift of the lead last time round, but starting to pull away from Phil Dickinson, who really was putting Gromit under some pressure earlier in the race. We have got 6 laps to go, and Dickinson still hanging on in there in third place as they cross the line. Once again, the top 3 really starting to break away now from the rest of the field. A bit further back, we've got Simon Gates a little bit further behind in fourth. Gav Tapperton in 5th place from Ian Walker, Chris Meller, Ben Douglas in 8th. Matthew Davis, one of our early front runners, recovering to 9th. Steve Booth rounding out the top 10, where it is still very close. But at the moment, Dickinson just losing a little bit of ground here on the 2nd place Gromit.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it then. The 55, just take a look at lap comparison. 0.6 of a second slower that last time by. The gap extended out to 1.2 seconds. And ultimately for Dickinson, it's a case of try and hang on, even though the number 55 will be looking for a very good run here today. 3rd place, I think you take it at this point. 8 seconds back to Gates there in 4th place. Simon Gates is not really too much shame in being 3rd and being outclassed by the top 2 in the championship.
Yeah, he's looking good there in 4th place, keeping it nice and neat, staying out of trouble. But realistically, I would say for the 172, Simon Gates, the top 3 are out of reach, barring any sort of mechanical issue or an incident for those guys. So Gates is plugging away. Sometimes that can be difficult, though, when you've got a gap of about 6 or 7 seconds. So Gates all on his own. You've just got to try and make sure you get those lines right and just keep the pace up, because sometimes when there's a rider in front, you'll get that toe. You'll see yourself with the reference point of a faster rider in front. So when you're on your own, it is difficult mentally sometimes just to keep on going. But Gates seems to be doing well. Got to be careful, though, because Tapperton is closing up. Here we see our race leader, the 27 of James Mostica, looking strong as he starts to pick his way through some of the back markers. And down the back straight, just gone past the 23rd place Mick Price. As, oh, that's a shame. That's the 110 of Matthew Davis. He got to 6th place, and what looks like the 110 on the bike, certainly. That's a shame for Matthew Davis, because he was running so well.
He was having such a good recovery as well, up into that 6th place. Could have been challenging for 5th and maybe even 4th come the end, but ultimately the bike says no, and just like that, the race is all but over and the points really do start falling away. But it's now about, well, you've got to focus. You've got to just keep on with this one for the final few laps of this one. Just 3 remaining in this one. It's going to be 2 in the not too distant future, and in fact, that could be the case pretty soon as they all make progress right now. This is the battle going on for 6th and 7th with the 151 of Ian Walker. Ben Douglas will want a way through on the outside of turn 2 through Lucy's Valley, and this is now set-up play.
Yeah, looking good here. Ian Walker, Ben Douglas looking strong on the edge of that top 10 battle. Chris Meller on the 31 seems to have picked up the pace as well. And of course, we've lost Matthew Davis, which means all of the midfield runners move up a position. Here is the 71 of Douglas on the red machine, just going through Luna Bend. Let's have a look at these riders as we see Douglas trying to sweep around the outside. Now he's going to sacrifice some speed on, well, sacrifice some track position on the corner and try and get it back on the drag down Conrad Straight. Not quite enough, though. Here they come through the top corner as we look at a little bit further back. There's Dervin Lane with the fluorescent yellow riding overalls there. Just behind him looks like the machine of Tony Revley, the 164. This is the battle just on the edge of the top 10, which is pretty close. We, of course, lost Matthew Davis from that one. And again, looking at Douglas, just trying to use some of those outside sweeps there, but he can't quite get the toe down the straight.
Can't get the straight, but he's looking very aggressive here through turn number 2, and this is one of the keys where you try and open up the lap. Turn 2 is not a place where you can necessarily keep it too wide for the majority of the lap. It's more used as a setup for 3, 4, 5, and then looking towards the Luna Bend. There's the 172, though, looking down the inside here, and this is Gates at the moment, just trying to walk away from Tapperton at the tune of 2.6 seconds, having to be careful. And this here is now the last lap starting for Mostica, tune of 4 seconds being played, and the band will keep on playing the entirety of the way round.
James Mostica looking very strong going into this final lap. He's maintained a good pace, fastest lap of the race with a 1:06.19, and hasn't really dropped the pace. He's lapping in the high 101s, 102s at the moment, so Mostica controlling the race at the front as the rest of the field make their way through onto the final lap. Just looking again at that midfield battle, there's the 177. And this is a little bit further down here, actually. We've got the number 27 in there as well. John Pearson and Meredith Hearn a little bit further ahead of this one as well. But at the moment, Mostica, there's Dickinson, sorry, the 3rd place rider, just starting to pick his way through some of the back markers as well. Here we see, though, the number 27, James Mostica, It's been a class act for him, Jake, as he makes his way round the final corner.
It's easy as you like. Mostica will come home and pick up the win, and needed to, and makes it 5 in a row here in the Pit Bike Veterans. The crucial fact, Gromit second was matching pace with Mostica throughout the mid to late part of that race, and so will feel that there are opportunities in the second race later on today.
Yeah, he'd certainly hope so. I'm sure Mostica will be hoping, well, he'd like to think he was controlling the race at the front. So, of course, a second moto later on. So, will we see Julian Gromit pick up the pace and take the challenge to Mostica? Can he live with him at the start of the race and maybe get involved in that battle as the second moto goes on a bit later on today? Pit Bike Vets is always a closely contested class throughout the field. And here we see some of the riders on the edge of the top 10. Mellor in 8th. Devin Elaine in 9th, and rounding up the top 10 there was Tony Revley. Those riders having a very close battle on the final lap. Steve Booth, Michael Nealons, who of course we saw earlier in 13th place from Ian Wareham. Mark Jarrett goes through, and last few riders on the lead lap looks like it will be Stu Bateson, William Horner, and Meredith Owen, final rider on the lead lap, just crossing the line at the moment. So we went from youth to experience, and we go back to youth with one of the breakout classes for 2020. It's the OMG Ovale 110 Cup. The riders are in the waiting zone, and they'll be underway in just a few moments.